All right. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I wanted to start off. You have something you want to say, apparently. Go
Nope,
ahead.
you've
No.
got it. Go for it.
I wanted to start off with a quote from a book that some of you may have heard of. And here's how it goes. It says, "Would you tell me, please, sir, which way I ought to go from here?" The other character responds, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. "I don't much care where," said Alice. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," said the cat. What story is that from?
Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland. That's right.
It's so freaky. I was seriously thinking of that exact quote like an hour ago.
Yeah.
While I was putting him to bed. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
So I love that quote just because it just shows us the power of what Gary's writing about in these couple of chapters about if we're not asking ourselves very good questions or very clear questions, then what are we doing? Yeah, I love that quote, that poem that he talked about, where if I only knew that life would have paid me whatever I'd asked. Like, that is so powerful. And I realized probably about a year ago that life really is just the answer to the questions that we're asking. And then I read it again in the book and I thought it was my idea and I was like, yeah, I'm so smart. Then I realized I just got it from the book. So I wanted just to, obviously this section here is quick and this section is very, very powerful. And we've talked about it a few times because we started talking about lead dominoes and we talked about the focusing question before, but I just wanted to check in and see, we've all done at this point in time a lead domino exercise. How are things going? Let's just do a quick little check-in on how we're doing with our lead dominoes and if that's something that we're struggling with or if we're on track, we're having success with. I'd love to hear from you guys.
Sure. The 668 challenge I finished up was fantastic. And then the lead domino I created on your call, whenever that was a couple weeks ago, was to just put the two pillows up on my bed. And my goal has really been to, please don't do my goal has actually been to make my bed every day, because I've noticed actually how that changes my look. But it was funny because on the weekend I haven't been wanting to do that so much because I spend half the day wanting to get back into bed anyway.
Sure.
And it was funny because at one point I walked in and the two pillows were there and I was like, you know, it actually doesn't look too bad, even just with the two pillows there. And it was funny because I was actually just thinking about that this morning. I was like, I still put the two pillows there, as I said, and I don't feel like, oh, I'm being bad and I'm just like throwing everything around. So it's actually been really nice to walk to my room most days with it made, and I just feel like the work that I've done on my room to improve it is just like, oh, it's actually there. It hasn't fallen and collapsed apart.
Yeah. Tell us what was your lead domino again?
Just putting the two pillows up against the headboard.
And your end goal was?
My end goal is to, so many things, but basically around creating a home that I love. Having my room be my oasis is like the first step, and then having the home be what I love, because I've noticed that trickles into everything about how I view myself as a person, how I live my day, how I interact with people. Like, it's crazy how much it affects.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So you're consistently finding that success in that opportunity. Awesome. Cool.
I have been, yeah. Like, I've been looking in and being like, wow, this is actually a room that I want to walk into and not feel like I'm hiding in there from life, but actually being like, this is nice. And, you know, it's funny, but I've said like, well, this affects me in my love life because I'm like, I don't want to bring anybody home to this. Like, I don't want them to see my mess, please, you know, like, now I'm like, oh, you know, I could actually like bring someone home and have her not hate the place, you know, like, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I will tell you guys that I'm still in the process of opening my Bible app before I open anything else on as far as technology goes. And I would agree with you that the weekends are a challenge for sure. Whenever you get up and you're just not in a routine. And what I'm finding that I really have to be very adamant about doing is I have to cheat and I have to go back to the night before. And that is, for me, just closing all of my apps except for my Bible app. So in the morning when I wake up, it refreshes. Then I've got the app of the day. So I mean the verse of the day there in front of me. And then
That's cheating at all. That's setting yourself up for success.
yeah, I mean,
That's
hey,
smart.
look,
I
it's
never
so
thought to do
small,
that.
right? With the flick of a finger, it falls over. So when I open as soon as my face unlocks the phone, then there's the Bible app in front of me. So that's been super helpful. And then of course, every now and then I get to see Donnie in there making all kinds of cool little design things for Instagram on his verses. So thank you, buddy.
Oh,
I
that's
appreciate
cool. I don't read with anyone on mine. I should.
that. I don't think we read together, but I think I
We
can see his
don't?
activity.
Yeah,
Let's just
we
be
share
friends.
activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So mine
And
was
how's
like,
yours going?
I had a full week last week because I was like did the later call. So the first morning that I did it, I had like crazy amounts of energy. Literally, it was actually like jumping around my kitchen. So my kids were like, "What's wrong with mom?" Not really sure where all that extra energy came from, but it happened. And then the second morning that I did it, I didn't get the coffee turned on, but I did get myself out of bed before the kids woke up. So it was a win because that's the main goal.
Right.
The coffee is just a bonus for Donnie when I actually get up that early.
Gotcha.
So I feel like it's going well as far as like getting me motivated to get up before them and have that extra time when Faith is still sleeping.
Good for you. Beautiful. Love it. Thank you for sharing. Donnie or Stacy, how are you guys doing with your lead dominoes? If you don't mind sharing, you don't have to, of course. This is all about you guys. now.
Hi guys.
Hey, Stacy.
Unfortunate, I'm gonna pull my car over here. I just got in my car, but okay. So my lead domino was to have time each week. It actually was hoping for 3 times a week, and then I think you go, how about just 1 time a week? Then that was probably a better idea. To think about and write down people who, okay, this is where my 50-year-old brain goes, wah, wah, wah. But this is what I was thinking is people who I admire and are doing things that I feel like I either could see myself doing, or maybe somehow I just admire whatever business, company, whatever. I just admire their work because I'm trying to find a new income source, and I don't know if it'll be a different industry or if it'll just whatever. Anyhow, so I haven't been real successful because I get very, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to these beautiful place and sit down with my notebook and all that. And so that has not happened because I complicated it. You brought me down to the small action, and then I complicated it. And so therefore I didn't do it. However, what I have done, and so this is kind of in a way my altered new thing, is that when I see someone, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Suzanne Summers. Does everyone know who she is?
Yep.
I guess she is really getting older, but so kind of dates me. But she is someone who, she's an insane salesperson. She is a total QVC type salesperson. Right. Just has a gene that is sales. And somehow I saw her on Facebook, and I don't know, she came across my feed one day, and I was like, Suzanne Summers, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about her for a while. So I clicked on, I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is like 77, and she is freaking rocking it from her kitchen with a new line of, well, it's probably not new, it's new to me, but like cosmetics and food and this and that. So my new thing is that when someone impresses me, and it's not like I want to be Suzanne Summers, but I am impressed with what she's doing, and I am kind of like, wow. Now, normally I say, oh, I wish that I was that kind of a salesperson, and one of my jokes with my daughter is, I wish I were, not wish I was Mormon, but like those Mormon people, they're the salespeople, So, but now instead of joking and kind of belittling myself, what I've decided to do is just look at that there and think about what maybe a trait of theirs is, or what it is that I really am admiring. And so I'm trying to not just crush myself and push myself down when I see someone else that I admire, because I'm not a jealous. I don't think I'm a jealous. I'm sure we all have, we all have jealousy within us, but it's more an issue of, let's not just crush my own spirit and
Right.
self when I see someone else crushing it in a positive way. Like, because I get so excited. I'm like, dang girl, look at you doing that, that's awesome. But then I also, in the same sentence to myself, put myself down. So that's my new thing, is to look at what is a trait, or what is it, and then what could I aspire to, or maybe learn from them, and just to not put myself down. So that's kind of how I've shifted it, and I'm not making it this dramatic. I have to sit down and
Right.
think about everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that,
So
because you're
that's-
just going smaller. Like when you find that it's challenging, we just go smaller, right? And even if it's something as far as telling yourself affirmation as opposed to a degrading thought, that can be the thing that unleashes potential, because then you get into your flow state or things like that. So I really
that
love
is that's a very good point. Is what's happening is I'm opening up instead of shutting down. And I'm starting to think of ideas instead of just sit in like self-wallowing.
Right.
I feel like crap. So,
Yep.
and
Love
that's
it.
amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
I think
Johnny,
for
anything
mine,
you would add? Go for it, man.
Yeah, I look at the calendar every time I get home, but I'm bombarded at the door, so I don't really get the individual time right away. But it's made up in the evening or whenever kids are tucked into bed or whatnot. So it's working.
That's awesome, man. Sometimes just bringing the awareness to it, right? Tony Robbins says that where focus goes, energy flows, right? So as you are able to just focus on there, that energy sometimes is enough just to form a connection that is not in a conversation, but it's just, hey, I'm really present with you, Cora. I'm really present with you, Brantley. I'm really present. So with Ellie. So anyways, I'm glad that you continue to knock down the domino of, I'm just going to keep checking the calendar. Just going to keep checking the calendar, man. That's where the success is. What were you going to say? Okay. Awesome. So I want to make sure that we all have the focusing question, because I know that some of you guys are listening to the book, and I just want to make sure that we all actually have the focusing question written down. And if not, Jenny's going to type it in the chat box, because in our relationship, she's the typer. There's a story there, but we won't go into that now. And I just want to ask you guys the question. When you think of the focusing question, do you need it or do you have it? I guess my question is, if life really is the answer to the questions that we're asking, and if our questions need to be broad and specific, right? If you go back to that circle graph of the 4 quadrants, you have, broad and vague, broad and specific, small and vague, small and specific, right? Then Gary says we want to live in that broad and specific, meaning that we have a question that challenges us, and we have a question that pushes us our abilities, but it also is a very measurable result. So if that's the question, how often are we interacting with this question? How many times a day would you say? You can put the answer in the chat box. How many times a day is this question coming across your brain? How many times a day do you interact and ask this question to yourself?
Asking the question that Jenny put in.
The focusing question. What's the one thing I can do such by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? And the answer might be 0, and that's okay. The reason that I want to ask you this question, guys, is because there's a saying in business, and that is, things that are measured can be improved. If we're measuring this, if we ask ourselves the question, how many times am I asking myself this question that a billionaire came up with and said, this is how I found success, massive success. This is how I took a real estate company from a one-man band in Austin And 33 years later, it's the #1 real estate company by twofold by this question, then that's extraordinary results. My question is, how many times are we interacting with this question on a daily basis? Right? So Angel says 2 times a day. I notice I think of it often and have a lot more aha moments. I tend to ask him more days that are harder. Absolutely. Love that. So if my answer is less than 1, right, or I'm not really interacting with it, then I want to jump to the end of the chapter 11, where Gary starts to talk about what are some things that we can do, the end of the success habit, which the success habit is simply ask the question, find the answer. Those are the 2 steps. I just asked myself a really good question, and then I allow myself to go find the answer. If those are the 2 things, then he says at the end of the chapter in his big ideas, use it, make it a habit, and leverage the reminders. So if we had 6, 10, 15, 25, 105 people on this call, we would go into breakout rooms right now. But since we just have 4, we have a small enough group that we can bounce these ideas. But I want to ask you, what are some great ideas that we can crowdsource as a group, come up together, because we're all smarter than any one of us, to help ourselves start interacting with this question, whether it's by building a habit, by doing it at a specific time every day, all the time, at that, like, build a habit around it, or the reminders that we can put into our day. So we have to then come back to the question and ask it so we can start to have better clarity on our dominoes. So let's just talk about it. What would you say are some things that you do as reminders, or how are you building a habit around asking the question? Angel, go ahead.
So actually my 6-6-day challenge was basically around this. So my habit is in the evening, when everybody's in bed, and it's actually part of my like bedtime routine, basically at this point, in preparation for the next day of choosing, I do word it slightly differently, but then with the idea of thinking that the answer is in that style. So I'll say, okay, what is the one thing that if I do tomorrow, I can consider it a successful day, that I will make an agreement with myself, that I don't beat myself up for not doing anything. And then usually whatever I choose is whatever the thing is that will make it easier, basically along those lines. The other thing that I don't do, but could possibly work for, random times during the day, is having just a reminder on your phone. Like have it just pop up.
Saying that, I just thought normally for me, like nap time is the time when I like start to work off a to-do list. Like the kids are like have quiet times in the room, so I'm just going to do all of the things. And that's when I start like 15 projects. And so as you're saying them that, yeah, he comes home to find them all.
And guess how many of them are done, guys?
I was about to say, like it was anything like me. Yeah.
But as he was saying that, I thought, I know they're going to go down around 12 o'clock. Why not just have an alarm go off on my phone? What's the one thing you need to do in the next hour? Like, not all the things, but what's the one thing that's going to make the biggest impact? I was like, I need to do that.
Love it. So
I also found for me breaking up the question and the action. I don't know if this works for other people, but I don't work as well if I have to choose for what I'm doing right now, like choosing the night before, where all I have to worry about is choosing. And then the next day, all I have to worry about is doing it. I don't have to combine those 2 brain functions. It's a lot easier for me personally.
That's a good idea.
That's really good.
That's kind of falls into like how great you feel when you plan your day the night before, for me at least. And that goes right along with what you were saying. I didn't know what your name is, who just spoke
Angel.
right before me. Angel, yes. But yeah, it's huge. And I'm sure Jenny can say this with weight loss clients. It's like, if you decide the day before what you're going to eat, it's a lot easier the next day to eat what you're going to eat instead of deciding and then doing. So I think that was a great point. And I really appreciate Angel making that point, because that's a great benefit of asking it the night before. For me, that would work. So thanks for that.
Awesome. What other reminders can you guys think of that throughout your day would allow you to interact with the question more?
Well, one thing as you're talking about.
So I did this the other day.
No, go. You're good.
So Tuesday, Thursdays are normally like my get all the things done, because my big kids are at school, and I kept was last youngest, not now youngest anyway, my 3rd child home from school on Thursday, which would throw everything off like my planning list. but instead I said, okay, well, what's the one thing that's important today? It was focusing on her versus like the back of my brain going, I need to do this, 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 and this. And it made me stop and just like enjoy that time versus go, oh man, look at all the things I didn't do today. But look at the one thing I did do today.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I used it in my most recent day question.
That's awesome. Way to identify the 20%, girl. That's fantastic. I love the idea.
Working, I'm very like,
Working on it.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love the idea of taking just the book jacket and putting the book jacket on my desk, so that way I can see the question mark. Because like right now, we typically don't like book jackets at our house. We just usually just go with the book. But I think if I will take the jacket and I put it, if I can peg it, I have a pegboard at work, and just peg it in there. Then when I walk in, I'll have the big question mark that's on the back of the book. That I think for me would be super helpful, because even at work, you know, you get into the office and I have 7 people that want to come ask me questions, and my admin team is blowing me up on where are we with this offer and so on and so forth.
Yep.
So,
Well, what I was thinking is that, so I work 2 days a week at a school, and I wear many hats when I'm there, and so do the 2 other ladies that I share an office with. And it's so easy by the end of the day for all of us to get to the end of the day and be like, what did we do? Like, we did lunch duty, but what else did we do? We were so busy. And so I think it would be really helpful for us just to even have a conversation and say, what is the one thing we want to accomplish this week? If we started every Tuesday morning with just that question, even if they are not familiar, which I know they're not familiar with the book, but just having that conversation with my coworker, so then I can say, without being rude to them later on in the week, like, this is my one thing that I need to get done. I would love to help you when I'm done with my one thing, because I feel guilty right now because we have never had those conversations. So when they ask questions, it's like, oh, I got to go help. I got to go, you know? So, and then I also think just like
Cash drop here too.
a Post-it note on my computer or something.
yeah, or make it in the background. What Jenny's talking about is right there. Number 5, recruiting support, right? Recruiting support.
Yeah.
And we have a saying at work. It says that environment, you'll like this one, Donnie, environment is way more powerful than willpower. Think about it.
Yep.
If there's no chocolate in the house, you don't go eat the chocolate. I don't care how many times you worked out or whatever. Like, if there's no ice cream, you don't eat ice cream. Your environment is more powerful than your will.
Absolutely.
So true.
So if we at work, imagine if you had a group of people, even one other person that you checked in with that said, hey man, what's your one thing for today? Hey Angel, what's your one thing for today? And you can go, got it. Now you've got that reminder, you've recruited support, and you've built you're building a community. That's what Jenny's talking about. So it's the same thing, Stacey, that you were talking about. Like, how do you build an environment in your mind so that way you can be more productive? That's super, super powerful, guys. So I just want you to keep that in mind, but think about that this week, and let's continue this conversation in the Facebook group. Yeah. Where are the areas that you would benefit from reminders, and how would those show up in your world, so that way you can interact with this question at a higher level? And then something that you might choose to do, like what Amanda was talking about, like for her, if she's already up making coffee, what if she were to, if that was a habit, or brushing our teeth, a habit that we already do every single day, what if we were to tie the question to the habit that's already existing? Now we can exponentially grow because we're leveraging our habits.
That's good.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And so I'm glad you said it, because you said it better probably. But yeah, tying it to a habit that we do. And I was thinking brushing your teeth. I mean, I brush my teeth at night. So why don't I ask that, like Angel just suggested, asking that at night? Okay. So I put those things together. Okay. There you go. At night, I can ask myself that question for the next day. I don't have to get my planner out, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, no, it's just like, I can do that. And then when I'm writing out my agenda, I can add it there, but if I haven't already, but so great.
The more that you
great
interact
idea
with the question, the faster you're going to see the results. Because think about what Gary said. When I ask the question, I'm able to then go ahead and it brings clarity to my dominoes, and I just continue to ask the question. But remember, the second part is, you have to find the time to give yourself the opportunity to answer the question. If you were to ask Gary, what is the 20% of the book? It is actually answering the question. It's taking the time and doing a planning block, time blocking, time for you to answer the question. That's what Gary would tell you. Now it's different for everybody, but that's what he would say. It's like the success habit really, guys, it pretty much comes back down to time blocking. Block off the time to answer the
I'm gonna
question.
get Faith out.
Go ahead. You should do that. No, that's it. That's all I have for you guys. And we're right at 8:30. So Jenny had, as far as next week, you want to tell us what we're
So
going to do?
next week we're moving into part 3. So they have a little part 3 intro, and then we're going to be reading 13, 14, and 15. So I'm going to put a post up in the group tomorrow about this leveraging, how we can leverage this and the reminders that we can build in, so we can brainstorm with a couple other people who weren't maybe on the call tonight and just share what you guys shared on that post tomorrow. So that way we can really start to use this question on a more consistent basis, because it really, like you guys have all said, it makes such a difference. Even when you've done it once or twice, it's made a difference that day or that week. So
I have one more thing for you guys. Great news. And how many of you guys were considering going to goal setting retreat, but you missed the early bird pricing? If anybody, if you missed the early bird pricing and you would like it, I was able to negotiate a discount code so that way you can still get early bird pricing, but there's a link that I'll send out to you guys. So if you're interested and you want to go, it's all virtual. If you'd like the early bird pricing, which I think is like $200 less,
yeah, it was
I
a
got
good
the hookup
price.
for you.
What is the price? Because that I couldn't find the price. I was looking at it. And then,
$195. It's $195 if you would like the just the like what's called the general admission, and then it's $595 if you would like the VIP. The difference between the two is general admission is going to get the 1 year masterclass for goal setting masterclass. You're gonna have access to that material for 1 year. And then you're going to have access to all of the goal setting retreat. VIP is a lifetime access. That's a $500 value. Lifetime access to the goal setting master course, as well as there's going to be masterminds with Jay and Jeff. And I don't know, but I think there's talk about Gary showing up, which is a big deal. But that's significantly more expensive. And I will tell you that we ourselves, we're not planning on doing VIP this year. So we're just going to do, because thanks, COVID. I don't know. Blame everything on COVID. What do you guys want? I'll have Jenny put the link in the Facebook group. We're way past time. No, I actually got it today, so it should come out tomorrow. All right, guys, you're awesome. Looking forward to it. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you guys taking some time with us. So,
bye, guys.
great night.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.